Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today's video is going to be a little bit different, more detailed, more simple. You're gonna love it, okay? So if you're new here, if you're seeing my face for the first time, please do go ahead and subscribe. And while you're down there subscribing, do not forget to give this particular video a thumbs up. And let's go into the first thing we need to do before we start sewing. Now, I'll be getting this question about how do I look at a style and identify how to create it. Do you understand? Like, how do you just look at the style and know what to do or how to go about recreating it? So we're going to be doing that today together. In case you don't know what is happening, I put up two pictures on the community, the YouTube community. One is a boo-boo dress, the other one is a flay dress. And I asked you guys to pick A or B, and a lot of people say they wanted to see A. Now, A is a flay dress with, I'm not going to tell you what it is. We're going to be identifying it together. That is what this first video is all about. Now, how do we identify a style and know how to recreate it? This is how I do it. This is how I always do it. Now, the first thing first, I have the picture here. I'm going to put up a picture on the screen, and if you feel like you yourself, you're looking at the picture and you can be able to identify it, like look at what you need to do to recreate it, go ahead and start writing down your answer on the comment section, and let's see if your answers tallies with mine. Okay, the first thing I do when I look at the style is, first of all, look at the measurements I need to recreate the style. Now, looking at this flay dress, the first thing I can see is that it has a neckline and it also has a shoulder. So yeah, there's no funny thing happening. There's a shoulder and there's a neckline. So the first measurement we need to recreate this is the shoulder. So we're going to be going accordingly, okay? Now, the second thing you need to know about this dress is the neckline. It has a neck depth and it has a neck width. Now, for the neck width, looking at the neck, it's not that wide. So let's go with 3.5 for my size. And if you're bigger than me, let's say 4 inches. For the width, that's the wideness. Now, for the depth, looking at this, it's not too deep. So 3 inches or 3.5 should be it for the measurement for the neck depth. Now, once we're done with that, we're going to move on to the next thing we need to know. Looking at this outfit right here, you can see that it has an armhole. So when you get your shoulder, you get your necklines, which is the neck width and the neck depth, you go to your armhole. Now, you need your round armhole measurements because this particular outfit has the armhole. It has the armhole, okay? So you need your armhole. Now, the next thing you will need for this dress is probably your bust points. Let's just see your bust point. You need your bust points, and then you need the length of the dress, and you need your round bust because we're working with bust points. So you need your round bust, and then you need your sleeve length. Now, these are the measurements we need to recreate this. Now, the next thing we start identifying is what is happening on this dress. Like, what is happening now? The first thing I can see is that on the sleeves, the sleeve is flay, but the flay is gathered. So now we know that we have to create a flay sleeve with gathers. Okay, so it has to be more than our actual measurement, so we can gather and get the particular measurements we need. So it has gathers, and yeah, that is all we need to recreate this. So now you know this. The next thing you need to know is the fabric. What fabric is going to be nice for the style? Now, you know already, if you have been watching my videos, you know that even looking at itself is crepe, okay? Don't tell me nothing. This is crepe. This is clean quality crepe. So this dress was made with a clean quality crepe, and that is what I'll be working with. And how do you identify the yards you need for an outfit? Now, looking at this already, you know that making a flay, you need up to 3 yards. Looking at the sleeves needs to be gathered. So let's just go last to be safe, 5 yards. That is how much fabric I got. Now, if you're bigger than me, you want to just get the proper 6 yards, and just, if the fabric remains, it's yours, so it's not going to waste. So yeah, that is it for that. Now, on this video, I've decided to share with you guys 2 different methods that I know of. I decided to share that with 2 different methods. One is going to be pattern, and the pattern, we're going to create the pattern and then slash and then get the flay we want. And the second method is just going to be marking on the fabric, like directly. I'm going to be explaining each of the method to the simplest form that I can communicate it with you. I'm just going to try and break it down. Now you know this, please do not forget to like this video and do not forget to subscribe while you're at it. Get your pattern paper, get your ruler, get your marker or your pencil, whichever you use to mark on your pattern. Get your measuring tape, get your scissors, and let's just dive into the...
So we're going to start with the first method, and this is the pattern drafting. I have my pattern paper here, and I'm just going to rule a starting line. So from the top of my pattern, I'm ruling a starting line. Now we're going to mark the vertical measurement, and that is your point. So that's what we're doing next. We're marking the vertical measurements. The first is the shoulder. We're going to divide the shoulder by 2, the shoulder measurement by 2, and mark this down on the starting line. Now all the measurements you're going to use for this recreation is available on the screen for you to follow. After ruling the shoulder, we're going to drop the shoulder by 1 inch. So we'll come down here by 1 inch from the shoulder measurement, and now we'll move into marking the neck width. For my dress, I'm using 3.5 inches as the neck width, so I'll mark that down here. And now I'll just go ahead and connect my neck width to the slope like this. So here to here. So this is a slope, 1 inch slope. So you connect your slope to your neck width like this. Now we're going to move into the stage where we divide the round armhole by 2 and mark this down from the slope. And now before we connect, we're going to confirm the measurement we have on the shoulder. We confirm it on the part where we just marked our armhole, and you can see mine wasn't correct. I marked 7.5 on the shoulder, so I'm just going to go ahead and adjust before I connect this straight to the slope, and also rule an horizontal line. So hope that was an easy step for you to follow. Now the next thing we are going to do is mark points, and we're going to mark the first point, which is the bust point. Now you can decide to use your bust point and also use your waist. If your waist is bigger than your bust, you can decide to also use your waist or use your hip. Okay, so you can decide to use any of those measurements, but I will be using my bust points, and I'll also rule the waist points. For those that have bigger waist than their bust, you have to take this step. But if you don't have bigger waist than your bust, once you're done with your bust points, just go ahead and rule the length of your dress, because we're going to be slashing and spreading this pattern. Okay, so it's actually not really necessary here. So now I'm just going to go ahead and mark the length of my dress, and for this dress I want it really short, so I'll be making it 34 inches. So I'm going to be using 34 inches as the length, and that is what I'm marking from my starting line. Now, like I said, marking the waist point is actually optional. So yeah. So next we're going to create the armhole curve, and to do this we're going to find the middle point on this part here. From the slope down to the armhole, we'll look for the middle point, and you do this by folding your tape into 2. And now you can indicate your middle point. From the middle point, I'll mark in 0.5 inch. So I'll go in by 0.5 inch. Now I'm just going to go ahead and divide my round bust by 4 and mark this down on the armhole line. So I'll divide my round bust by 4. So I'm marking it down on the bust line, and I'm just going to connect it straight to the armhole because it's supposed to be straight from the bust to the armhole. So I'll connect it with my straight ruler, and this can help me create my armhole curve. So now I'll go in with my curve and create the curve for the armhole, and this is connecting the bust measurement to the 0.5 inch you have on the middle point. And for this we're just going to use the straight ruler. So like I said, the waist point is optional. So for me, my waist is smaller than my bust, so I'm not going to mark my round waist because I don't need it. So I'm just going to take the line from my bust down to the length. Now this is why I said marking your waist point is optional. If your waist is bigger than your bust, then go ahead and mark your round waist, and that is the line you're going to be connecting to the length and also to the armhole, okay? But if it's smaller, skip that and just make sure your pattern looks exactly like what I have here. And also optional is adding allowance, because we're going to be slashing and spreading this, so we're going to be getting enough allowance. But in case you still feel not confident about it, just go ahead and add 1 inch allowance to your pattern, just as I am doing. Now I'm done with this part. I'll go ahead and work on the neck depth. So we have the neck width here, and the next thing we're going to do is mark the neck depth. And for me, I'll be using 3 inches as my neck depth. So I'll be marking 3 inches down. And now I'll connect the 3 inches to the neck width. Now remember that this is the front pattern that I am creating. And once I'm done with the front pattern, I'll use it to get my back pattern. But yeah, this is the front, and the neck depth for the front for me is 3 inches, okay? Now remember, what we're trying to create does not have a deep neck. That is why I'm using 3 inches. So I'll also go ahead and mark the back neckline here, so that when I'm trying to duplicate this, I just have to place the front on the pattern and cut. So from the starting line, I'll go down by 1 inch, and that is how deep the back neck will be. And now connect the 1 inch to the 3.5 like this with my curve ruler. If you don't have a curve, baby girl, go ahead and freehand it, okay? You have a free curve, which is your hand. So go ahead and use it and get your back neckline. So this is my back neckline, and I'm just going to cut out the pattern so we can go ahead and slash and spread this pattern. Okay, before then, we're going to be duplicating to get the back pattern. So I'll cut this out and duplicate to get my back pattern. So this is the front pattern, and we have to duplicate to get the back pattern. And for this outfit, if you know you want to use the pattern method, you need to have your back pattern also, so you can slash both of them and get the width that you want, get the flay that you want, get the length, everything accurate, okay? So if you're using the pattern method, go ahead and do this step, duplicate your pattern to get your back, just as I am doing right now. I just placed my pattern paper on a fresh pattern, and now I'm just tracing it out. So before tracing or before cutting it out, I make sure I pin the pattern together so it does not move while I cut, so I get the same thing I have on the front on the back, okay? Once I'm done with the tracing, I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the back neckline on this new pattern. And now I will take my pins off so I can cut out the neck for the front, okay? You can see that the front has the back neck because we're going to duplicate, but once we're done duplicating, I'll keep my back pattern aside, and now I'll cut out my front neckline. So remember the steps, do not skip any of them so you don't make mistake while creating your pattern, okay? While you're creating, make sure you cross check, make sure you take your time, do not rush. Now we're onto the slashing of the pattern. So this is how we're going to follow, or this is the step we're going to follow before we slash. So I'm going to mark 2 inches apart on the pattern. So the first line I'm going to go in here is going to be 2 inches. I'm just going to switch the marker so you know that this is the next step after creating your pattern. So I'm just going to mark 2 inches like this. 2 inches, guys, okay? And I'll connect this, and then I'll go again by 2 inches. So I'll just keep going by 2 inches, by 2 inches, by 2 inches on the pattern, okay? So it is 2 inches apart. The first line is 2 inches in, the next after the first line is going to be 2 inches in, okay? So we'll have to keep going. I'll mark 2 inches here again, and I'll connect, and I'll keep doing this till I run out of pattern. So I'll mark my straight line of 2 inches here, and as you can see, I have done that, and this is the last line for my 2 inches. So now we have this. We're going to go ahead and slash this. So to slash, we're going to start from the base, that's the length of the dress, and we're going to slash this, and when we get to the neckline and the shoulder, we stop 1/2 inch in. Okay, so you're not going to slash this totally, because what we're trying to create, the flare we're trying to create, does not affect the neckline and the shoulder. Okay, so when we get to the neckline and the shoulder, we stop by 1/2 inch or even 1/4 inch. Okay, so see what I'm doing? I'm just slashing, and when I get to this point, I'm just going to stop 1/2 inch. Okay, and you can see that my pattern is able to spread just the way I want it. It's able to spread like bread and butter. So yeah, to the shoulder here, I stopped, and I'll slash, the continue slashing, and when I get to the shoulder, I stop by 1/2 inch. So you're not slashing this off totally. And on this part, when it gets to the armhole, I'm just going to stop by 1/2 inch, and this is what we have. So we're going to go into the next step, which is the spreading of the pattern. Now to spread, you need to get a new pattern paper. So I have my new pattern paper. Make sure you have like a very wide and long pattern, because we're going to be spreading this and we need a lot of pattern. Okay, and I'm working with my sellotape here, and what I'll do is I'll go ahead and sellotape the shoulder and the neck and the armhole. I'm just going to sellotape them so they don't move while we spread the base. So what we're spreading is the base of the pattern. That's where we have the length. That is where we're spreading from. So I'm just making sure that the neckline, the shoulder does not move while I spread. So I'm using my sellotape to hold it down to the new pattern, and now I can go ahead and start spreading. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing, and this is what they call spreading. So what I'm actually trying to do now is I'm trying to achieve a flay. I'm trying to spread this into an angle. Okay, you can see that the angle is already created, a 45 degrees angle, I guess. And you can see that I'm just using my sellotape to hold down after spreading. When I spread, I use my sellotape to hold it down. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. And in case you're wondering, I'm spreading this by 6 inches apart. So each spread is 6 inches apart. So once I am done spreading and I've achieved what I want, the amount of flay I want, I'm just going to go ahead and start cutting. Now, one thing you need to know is how wide you want your flay to be, determine how much you're going to spread it by. Okay, I spread mine by 6 inches apart. So if you don't want the volume of flay that I have, you can go ahead and spread by lesser, which is by 4 or by 3. But then if you want that particular volume I got, you can spread yours by 6 inches or by 5 inches. Trust me, girl, you're going to get that volume. Okay, so what I'm doing now is cutting the length. You guys, you can see that I have my pattern ready. So let's go ahead and see the result for the first method. Now this is the result. I'm just going to go ahead and take off the first pattern that we spread, and this is the actual pattern that we're going to be using to cut, or you are going to be using to cut if you decide to use the pattern method. Okay, so this is what you should have, and you guys, this is the first method in which you can go ahead and achieve your flay dress. Okay, note, please go ahead and repeat the slash and spread for the back pattern to get the front and back. Okay, I'm not going to be doing that because I just want you guys to see how you can slash and spread and get your flay dress. Okay, before we get into the second method, this video is sponsored by Skillshare. I want to quickly say thank you to Skillshare for the big inspiration and for also opening up my mind to the endless possibilities in the universe. I actually feel like a different person right now, and I've been on the community for just 1 month, and from all the things that I have learned, Skillshare has inspired me in so many ways that right now I'm beginning to find confidence in my abilities, which is something I was struggling with. Okay, so you guys, in case you're wondering, Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of online classes and members across 150 countries. Now, this community is interested in making the creative life possible for everyone around the world. You don't even have to be inspired to be on this community. So if you are uninspired, if you're low on inspiration right now, you should join Skillshare and just watch the inspiration flowing from different directions. Now, that is how amazing their classes are. They have classes from animation to creative writing, from filming to fine arts to graphic design, name it, to illustration, to fashion, to business analytics, to lifestyles, to productivity, to web development, to photography, music. You guys, a lot of classes are available for you. Thousands of classes are already available, and they have new premium classes that launches every week. Now, my experience joining Skillshare has been so amazing. At first I was overwhelmed because I have thousands of classes available to me. So who wouldn't feel that way? I was overwhelmed. I just kept searching for almost everything, and I kept seeing classes on everything I searched for. I didn't even know where to start from. I didn't know where to begin. And I took a step backwards and I asked myself, what's your interest right now? What is it that you want to get better in, or you want to acquire as a new skill? So that is how I started to follow my classes, from how to film quality videos to how to edit them and make them engaging. And also, I decided to join a class where I learned how to incorporate storytelling into my content. And that is how I've been following these classes. And all these classes have been so eye-opening for me, and they've been so interesting and very detailed, guys. In actually learning all these things, I'm also learning how detailed their classes are, how transparent and authentic it is. And now I feel like I myself am also going to be like a very good teacher, because I'm learning how they are able to put this content together to pass knowledge and communicate it in a very simple way. My interest right now and the classes I'm taking is on hand sewing, and this is by Bernadette Bananda. You guys, she is a genius. Now, she taught hand sewing like it has never been taught before. Like, she broke down hand sewing, and I'm learning things that I've never heard before. I did home economics back in the day in my secondary school, and I have read about it back in the uni days, but what she did, I have never heard about it. The process she followed, the little things she brought up about hand sewing, I never knew before. I'm so glad to have joined her class, because now I feel like I can be able to communicate what I have learned from her to my audience. Now, you guys, the great news about this whole experience is the fact that Skillshare has provided a link for me to present to my audience. The first 1,000 people that clicks on this link gets 1 month free trial. Now, this is a very beautiful opportunity, and you wouldn't want to miss on this, okay? If you're ready to start moving towards your goals and your dream, it is time for you to start getting inspired. It is time for you to start working on that skills, and it is time for you to take whatever it is that you're venturing on the next level. Now, I have the link on the description box, like I said, and this link is from Skillshare to the first 1,000 people that is fast enough to click on the link. Now, you're going to get 1 month free trial, and don't forget to say thank you to Skillshare on the comment section. Now, you guys, let's move into the second method. We are on the second method, and on this method we're going to be marking directly on the fabric, okay? So that is what the second method is all about. Now, you guys, I have my fabric here, and on the introduction I talked about the fabric and how many years I'm working with. So what I'll do now is pick a point from this edge, and from that point that I've decided to work with, I'm just going to fold my fabric into 2, and I'm just going to create an A shape. Now, you can see that I picked one side of the edge, and now I'm folding my fabric into an A shape. So please follow what I'm doing right now and create an A shape on your fabric, and make sure this is folded into 2. So what we are going to do is mark our measurement on a 45-degree angle, and that is the process. Now, the next thing we're going to do now is mark the measurements, and the first thing we always mark is the shoulder, right? So what I'll do now is place my tape from the close edge, and I'm just going to divide my shoulder measurements by 2 and mark this down from the close edge in. Now, you can see that where my shoulder measurement is stopping, I have like 2 inches extra allowance after it, right? So make sure you're having that also. When you mark your shoulder divided by 2, you have extra allowance at the side, okay, like 2 inches more or 3 inches, okay. Now from the point where I marked my shoulder, I'll go down by 8 inches, which is my round armhole divided by 2. So go ahead and divide your round armhole and mark this down from your shoulder measurement. Now you don't have to make sure that this aligns with your shoulder measurement. You can just go ahead and mark it, and even though it's sitting on an angle or on a slant, it doesn't matter. This is a flay dress, okay. So what I'll do now is connect my shoulder measurement down to the armhole point like this. And I'll rule an horizontal line. So this is where the armhole curve will be sitting, and to get my curve, I'm going to go ahead and use my curve ruler to create that curve, okay. So I'll use my curve ruler to create the curve. Now you guys looking at this right now, you can see that I did not mark my bust points and add allowance. I'm just marking this, and I'm making sure that wherever the armhole curve stops, that is going to be my total measurement for my bust, okay. And right now I'm just going to mark the length from the shoulder. So I'll place the tape from where I have the shoulder, and I'll mark 34 inches down as the length. Now while marking my length, I'm going to move my tape around, because this is a flay. It doesn't have to be straight. Just move your tape around, okay. If it's creating a curve, go ahead and follow that curve, because we are creating a flay. It doesn't have to be straight. So that's what I'm doing. I'm moving my tape on the shoulder, and I'm moving it down on the length. And after doing that, you can see that I have a curve, and I'm following that curve. I'm just creating the curve at the length, and this is the length of my dress. The next one we're going to do is mark the neck width. Now remember, on the pattern we created the neck width with 3.5, and that is what I'm doing for the fabric. I'm marking 3.5 inches in. And for the neck depth, this is the front piece. I'm going to use 3 inches as my front neck depth. And then I'll go ahead and create the curve, okay. I'll use my curve ruler to create the curve. And you guys, that is it for the fabric, okay. For the second method, this is very simple. I know it's very simple, yeah, but you know, creating with the fabric is just one time thing, and creating this with the pattern, you can actually use the pattern for another project. So that is why I prefer the pattern, okay. And you guys, let's confirm our bust measurements. Now on the armhole line, we're just going to confirm the bust measurement. So I'll place my tape from the close edge, and you can see that I already have more than my bust measurement, and which is good. My round bust divided by 4 is 9 inches. I'm just going to calculate how much extra I'm getting, and I can see 7 inches extra. That is very, very good. This is a flay dress. It doesn't have to be fitted, so I have the perfect measurement right here. So I'll go ahead and cut out my piece, and this is the front piece. So we're going to be creating the back piece, and just as simple as the front piece, the back piece is simpler because we're just duplicating. So you can see the curve that is on the length. I'm just following that curve, and I'm cutting it out. You guys, please let me know which of the method is simpler for you to understand. As for me, I feel like the fabric method is simpler, but it's just that it is just a one-time thing, okay, and I don't like one-time things. So we're going to be cutting the back piece, and to do this, we're going to fold the fabric just the same way we did for the front piece. We're going to fold it into an A shape. I already did that, so I saved you guys the stress of seeing me fold again. And what I'll do now is just place my front piece on this new piece, and I will go ahead and duplicate, okay. So make sure that your front piece sits perfectly on this second piece. And what we're going to do is, I'm just going to place my book so it doesn't move, because we have to create the back neckline, and to do that we have to mark 1 inch down for the back depth, okay. So I'm just going to mark the shoulder measurement to create a line, and that line is going to help me mark 1 inch down for the back neck depth. I hope my blue chalk is bright enough or clear enough for you to see, okay. So I'll connect the 1 inch to the neck width, and you guys, that is it for the back neck depth or the back neckline. All we have to do now is cut. Okay, we're on the cutting levels now. We're going to cut out this piece, and that is it for the back piece. Now this dress does not have zip, so you don't need zip for it. Just make sure that your neck is wide enough to pass through your head, and you are good, because the rest is just going to be flay, not fitted, so you're good. So I'm cutting the down, that's the length, and you guys are going to see my two piece. This is the front piece and the back piece. I'll go ahead and indicate the wrong side of the fabric because the both of them looks the same. And you guys, this is it for the first and the second method. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Which of the method would you follow? And you guys, check back for how to create the flay sleeve and the sewing version of this dress. Okay, thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you guys find this video interesting and very detailed and simple for you to follow along to recreate yours. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're new. I'll be seeing you guys on my next video. Love and light to you wherever you are. Bye for now.